Welcome all. Today's video we are going to discuss about the lesson tissue. What is tissue? Group of cells. Group of cells that are similar in structure and work together to achieve a particular function we called as tissue. In diagram you can see this one is a single cell. Imagine this one is a single cell. When the cells combine together they will form tissue. When cells combine together that we called as tissue. So have one doubt. Are plants and animals are made up of same type of tissue? No. There are noticeable differences between the two. Plants are fixed. They do not move. So most of the tissue present inside the plants are supportive. So they are dead tissues. But in the case of animals, they are mobile. They'll be moving around in search of food, meat and shelter. So they consume more energy compared to plants. So the most of the tissue present inside the animals are living. So tissues we can divide it into two, plant tissues and animal tissues. We will be discussing about plant tissues. Plant tissues are classified into two main groups, meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissues are dividing tissues which are responsible for growth of plant. So depending on the region where they are present, meristematic tissues are classified as apical, lateral and intercalary. Apical meristem, lateral meristem and intercalary meristem. Apical meristem is present at the growing tip of stem and root, and which is mainly responsible for increasing the length of stem and root. Lateral meristem, which is present in the lateral regions of the stem and main function to increase the width or girth of the stem and root, increasing the width. And intercalary meristem, which is present in the base of nodes and internodes or the base of leaves, which are mainly responsible for the growth of buds, leaves, etc. The cells of meristematic tissues are very active. They have dense cytoplasm, thin cell wall and prominent nuclei, but they lack vacuoles. Next we are discussing about permanent tissues. Permanent tissues are formed by when meristematic tissues take permanent shape, size and function, and they will lose the ability to divide. As a result, they form permanent tissue through a process that we called as differentiation. Permanent tissues are divided into two, simple permanent tissues and complex permanent tissue. Simple permanent tissue comprises same type of cells, but complex permanent tissues there comprises more than one type of cells. Simple permanent tissue is divided into three, parenchyma, columnar and sclerenchyma. First we will discuss about parenchyma. Parenchyma is unspecialized cell with thin cell wall. Either they are loosely packed and tightly packed. Here you can see these are the loosely packed parenchymatous cells and these are tightly packed parenchymatous cells. Tightly packed means there is no intercellular space between the cells. Here you can see free space, intercellular space between the cells that are loosely packed. The main function of parenchyma is that storage of food and water. There are two types of parenchyma cells that are sclerenchyma and parenchyma. Sclerenchyma is nothing that parenchyma cell with chlorophyll that we called as sclerenchyma. And main function is that photosynthesis. Chlorophyll is the pigment which gives green color to the plants. So here we can see this parenchymatous cell along with chlorophyll. Parenchyma is that parenchyma with air cavities. The floating of aquatic plants is the presence of parenchyma. Parenchyma with air cavities. Here you can see the cavities. These are air cavities. Next type of simple permanent tissue is that columnar. Columnar are the cells. The cell wall is thicker in the corners. Only the corners they are thicker. If cells are like this, In corners only they are thicker. And main function is that provide strength and flexibility. So we can see that when wind blows at that time, plants will move from one direction to another direction. Afterwards they will come in their actual position. That movement is because of the presence of collenchyma. The movement is on the presence of collenchyma. Then sclerenchyma is the next type of cell. They are thickened cell and they are dead also. So because of the deadness, they are hard and stiff. They are providing mechanical support to the plants. Example, coconut husk. So another one type of simple permanent tissue is that epidermis. Outer layer of the cell is made up of single layered cell. Cells are like this, single layered cells. These single layered cells that we called as epidermis. The main function of epidermis is that protect loss of water, mechanical injury and inversion by parasite. So the epidermis which containing some pores. In between the epidermis which containing some pores. These pores we called as stomata. So which are enclosed by two guard cells, that kidney shaped cells. The main function of this guard cell is that opening and closing of stomata. This region that we called as stomatal pores. Opening and closing of these pores, this stomata is mainly dependent on these guard cells. The main function of stomata is that helping for exchange of gases. Another one function helping for transpiration, means loss of water from plants, that we called as transpiration. Next we are discussing about complex permanent tissue. Complex permanent tissue comprises more than one type of cell, and they are divided into two, xylem and phloem. This is the diagram of xylem and this one is phloem. Here you can see different type of cells are making one complex permanent tissue, that is xylem. And here also you can see different types of cells. So complex permanent tissue is made up of different types of cells. First we will discuss about xylem. Xylem main function is that conduction of water and minerals. There are 4 elements in xylem: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Except xylem parenchyma, all other elements or all other cells present inside xylem are dead. So this we called as tracheids. These are xylem fibers. This one xylem vessels, and near to xylem vessels you can see xylem parenchyma. So upward conduction of water is the main function of xylem. Root absorb water and xylem will reach this water to all other parts of the plant. So only it shows unidirectional flow. Only upward flow will be there in xylem. Main function of phloem is conduction of food. Leaves will prepare food and all other part of the plants will get food with the help of conducting tissue, that is phloem. Phloem has 4 elements: sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Except phloem fibers, all other cells are living. And here you can see these we called as sieve tubes. The connection between two sieve tube with the help of one plate, that we called as sieve plate. Then near to sieve tube we can see companion cell, the outer lining or protection of companion cell with the help of phloem fibers, and near to companion cell you can see phloem parenchyma. This is phloem parenchyma, these are companion cell, and this outer lining of the companion cell is, that is phloem fibers, which shows bidirectional movement. Food will move upward also, downward movement also is there. Upward movement also is there, downward movement also is there. Next we will be discussing about animal tissues. There are 4 types of animal tissues: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. So first type of animal tissue is that epithelial tissue, which is also known as covering or protective tissue. And epithelia perform different function in different part of the body. So epithelial tissue is divided into 6: squamous epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium, columnar epithelium, ciliated columnar epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, and granular epithelium. So one by one we'll be discussing different types of epithelial tissue. First one is that squamous epithelium and thin flat cells making squamous epithelium, which forms the lining of blood vessels, alveoli, etc. and it allows easy exchange of materials. So next one is that stratified squamous epithelium, which is same squamous epithelium only, but many layers will be there. So multi-layered squamous epithelium is known as stratified squamous epithelium, which is present in skin and main function prevent wear and tear. We know that skin is outermost part which is contacting with outer atmosphere, so chances are there wound and other tearing and wearing. So to prevent that, the skin layer multi-layered epithelium is present. Next type is that columnar epithelium, which is pillar-like cells and making inner lining of intestine. Main function is absorption and secretion. So next one is that ciliated columnar epithelium. This elongated pillar-like cells only, but upper portion of the columnar epithelium containing cilia. Cilia is nothing but hair-like projections. Hair-like projection present in columnar epithelium we called as ciliated columnar epithelium, which is present in respiratory tract and main function is that pushes mucus forward. Next type of epithelial tissue is that cuboidal epithelial tissue, which are cube-shaped cells and lining of kidney tubules, duct and glands, which are made up of cuboidal epithelial tissue. Main function providing mechanical support. Next type of epithelial tissue is that granular epithelial tissue, which is nothing but folding inward. Epithelial tissue folding inward, which forms multicellular glands. Next type of animal tissue is that connective tissue. Connective tissue is cell embedded in intercellular matrix. This intercellular matrix, either it's in the form of fluid, dense or rigid. So the connective tissue is divided into 6 types. They are blood, bone, ligament, tendon, areolar tissue and adipose tissue. So one by one we will be discussing that. First one is blood. Blood is also known as fluid connective tissue. So we know that in blood it containing RBC, red blood cells, white blood cell, WBC and platelet. So fluid part of blood that we called as plasma. So all these WBC, RBC and platelets are suspended or embedded in plasma. So we called as blood as fluid connective tissue. Next type of connective tissue is bone, which have hard matrix composed of calcium and potassium compounds and which provide structural support, which also anchored with muscles or skin. Next type of connective tissue is ligament, connection between two bones with the help of ligament, which is an elastic tissue. Tendon, which connects muscle to bone, which is a fibrous tissue. Next type of connective tissue is that areolar tissue. Areolar tissue found between the skin and the muscles, or you can see that in around blood vessels, nerves, etc. So main function which support internal organs. Next type of connective tissue is that adipose connective tissue, found below the skin and also between the organs, which is filled with fat globules, and act as an insulator. Insulator means providing heat. Always this adipose tissue provide us heat, maintaining heat to our body. That is because of adipose tissue. And fat storing tissue, adipose tissue also known as fat storing tissue. So which tissue is helping for storage of fat? That is adipose tissue. Fluid connective tissue, blood. Connection between two bones is with the help of ligament. Connection between muscle and bone with the help of tendons. So the connective tissue which supports internal organ, that is areolar tissues. Next type of animal tissue is that muscular tissue, which consists of elongated cells that we called as muscle fibers, which causes our body movement. So these muscles contain specialized protein that we called as contractile protein. When it contracts and relaxes, at that time movement will happen. So example of contractile proteins are actin and myosin. Muscle containing specialized protein, contractile protein, contraction and relaxation of this causes movement. Example of contractile protein, actin and myosin. So next we will discuss about different type of muscle fibers. There are three types of muscle fibers: skeletal muscles, smooth muscles and cardiac muscles. First we will discuss skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles, also known as voluntary muscles and also known as striated muscles. Why it is known as skeletal muscles means muscles which is attached to bones. Why it is known as voluntary muscle means according to our wish we can move these muscles. The muscles present in our fingers, we can move according to our wish. That is skeletal muscles. Then it is also called striated muscles because in this they are showing striations or bands, light and dark bands. So it is known as striated muscles. It is attached with bones, so skeletal muscle name came, and which we can move according to our wish. So the name voluntary muscle. It shows striations, so the name striated muscles. These are cylindrical, unbranched and multinucleated cells. Next type of muscular tissue is that smooth muscles, which is involuntary, means we can't move according to our wish. We can't control the movement of that involuntary muscles or smooth muscles. Example, the movement of food through our alimentary canal or inside our intestine, the movement of food, then contraction and relaxation of blood vessels. These all things are involuntary. We can't control. Next, smooth muscles are found in iris of eye, ureters, bronchi, etc. Cells are elongated or long, pointed ends, or we call it as spindle shape, pointed ends, and uninucleated. One cell consists of only single nucleus. These are the characteristics of smooth muscles. Next type of muscle is that cardiac muscle, which is found in heart, and rhythmic contraction and relaxation of heart throughout the lifetime, which is mainly because of cardiac muscles, which is involuntary, means we can't control the movement of heart. Then the cells of these cardiac muscles are cylindrical, branched and uninucleated. Here you can see cylindrical, they have many branches and they are uninucleated. Single nucleus is there in single cell. This is all about muscular tissue. Three types: skeletal muscle, smooth muscles and cardiac muscles. Last type of animal tissue is that nervous tissue, which are the specialized cells or tissues to respond to stimuli, and brain, spinal cord, nerves. These all are composed of nervous tissue. And the cells of nervous tissue, are called nerve cells or neurons. Here you can see the structure of neuron. Neuron consists of cell body, that this portion, entire portion till here, this full portion that we called as cell body. Cell body consists of nucleus and cytoplasm, and also from cytoplasm, the walls of that cell body, some hair-like projections are arising, that we called as dendron. The branch of dendron that we called as dendrite. Cell body consists of cytoplasm and nucleus. The walls of cell body containing hair-like structure that we called as dendron, and branch of this dendron that we called as dendrite. And this cell body is having elongated continuation of cell body, there is elongated tube that we called as axon. The protective cover of this axon that we called as myelin sheath. Protective cover of this axon that we called as myelin sheath. At last portion that we called as nerve ending. So cell body, axon, nerve ending. When it reaches nerve ending of one neuron is connected with dendrite of another neuron. Two nerve ending never connect. One nerve ending connect with dendrite of another neuron. So main function of this neuron is that passing impulses. Dendrites receive impulses and it will transfer to dendron. It reaches here inside the cytoplasm and passes to axon, and from it reaches nerve ending. Again nerve ending passes impulses to next neuron. Which portion? Dendrite. Passes impulses to dendrite of next neuron. This is all about nervous tissue. Today we discussed about plant tissues and animal tissues. Hope you all understood the lesson. Keep watching.